students and parents are facing, because they don't understand, even their parents don't understand at times, as to what stops them from education to employability. So if I discuss this few things, what I have gathered, moving from, attitude or exhibiting attitude, right, to have support of their evidence, support of their work, how their work is supported by others, perceived by others, from ideas, right, to innovation, to solving problems, from knowledge, consuming knowledge, as I call it, that this education as a sector is consuming knowledge, to also generating knowledge, like we do in research. And many schools and educational institutions are also joining us in many programs. So also be part of knowledge generation. Positive feedback is what we say is pampering the students. Fine, at some stage we need to give them positive feedback. However, in industry and in career, those who will agree with me, the negative feedback, grows the person, makes the person more and more robust and more, challenge taking, risk taking. And when it comes to teaching, not the course, not the syllabus, but discourse or open literature or anything related to the coursework. So from intelligence, we move to intellect. So there are ways of becoming from good to great, or creating an excellence in the environment, in the ambience of the institution. So some of these are, in fact, largely these are the concerns of top management for such institutions, and few of them, when teachers participate, will be passed on to teachers. So this might surprise both management and teachers how to handle such load. Shall I call it load? Or is it what will relieve the load, the mental load? Yes, it would require more time, but it won't require time in a stretch, at a stretch. But we all have 24/7. If we are engaged in the work that we enjoy, then there are no issues. Believe me and be with me for a few more moments. Let me add more provocation. In the industry, particularly I have heard Vishal Sikka, who was in Infosys, he once said, Indians don't speak up, they just follow the orders. So are we creating students who are like robots, who will solve the problems as the best individuals, but never create problems or original problems, or never identify the original problems, even if they pertain to their society? So what kind of individuals are we producing through education? So this is a strong feedback from industry, who analyzed the reasons for unemployment or unemployability of the students. So therefore, we need to bridge this gap. Earlier, whichever way, it's between or among us, how we solve it. Now, if I take the scientific approach, even if those who are not from science will follow this, the scientific approach simply means growing with knowledge. So it is the social sciences or all sciences, not just the physical sciences or chemical sciences, the social sciences also follow the same. Now, if I say education is knowledge only, is it imparting knowledge only? No. It cannot be just one pillar. It has 4 pillars of or four foundations of science, as we say, or growing knowledge, as we say. Knowledge is one hand, skills on the other hand, attitudes on as another element, and science and technology, science and environment, society and environment. So are we considering everything? Now, if we keep this perspective for all the education, be it doesn't matter what discipline it is, then we can consider the scientific approach towards excellence in institutions. Now, if I talk about attitudes, which is more commonly visible in students who are, at the verge of, moving from school to college, at that adolescent age. So, do they appreciate the coursework that they are doing? Check about that. Because I remember even from our age, we used to say a particular teacher has made me interested in a particular course. So, we used to give credit to our teachers. So, now the reverse of that is, do we find that appreciation of students in their coursework? Are they interested in that coursework which I just shared? Not at a later stage when we grow up to recall our teachers, made us interested in that. Not as a post, education analysis. But as teachers, being much ahead that the students are interested. Not that we create an environment where we all take it, education as a load, examination as a load, and the only other entertainment as liberation. No. Do we consider engagement in our coursework as enjoyment? Both ways, both teachers and students, and also finding, if teachers have it, then the students reflecting that interest in their coursework. Do we inculcate the inquiry, the scientific inquiry? Scientific inquiry simply means the knowledge that they have is seeking for the knowledge that they don't have, that they are asking questions. So are we creating that environment of questions in the class, in the interaction, formal or informal, public or private, doesn't matter. But do we have that freedom in the environment, in the ambience of institutions, that they can raise questions? And from there they move on and we all move. Do we inculcate collaboration, that they work together? The point that I started with, that let us not consider that each individual is just conforming to the coursework and then scoring individually, and then we create competition. Unfortunately, that has been the understanding of all of us. Now, if we create collaboration, now that makes the bigger change in the educational institutions. Whether it is collaboration among students, collaboration among teachers and students, collaboration among teachers and teachers, collaboration among different teams, that creates currents and connections within the campus in an altogether different way. Do we have safety concerns? Because the moment we create this liberation, this freedom of action and expression, then there might be some issues on who takes care of their safety. Even the parents may start coming up to see safety. Initially they may come up to say whether there are more resources required, whether there is more time required, whether there is extra timing, etc., or extra material required, and many such questions. That is where top management has to consider. So safety in general of the students will remain responsibility, that whatever they do, like they do in home, they have an environment which is free enough to grow for their growth, and at the same time safe from the larger out of bounds perspectives. And in that safety, do we have what we call stewardship? Can they lead others? Can they take a pride in helping others? Can they share what they know well? Can they do what they do well to others? So this is, you will find instead of education, we are talking about attitudes, because attitudes are visible in the society for initially the students, and sometimes they are visible as emotional health issues also. So therefore, this is high time, and Corona has brought us to think about the mental health, and I would say attitudes are the symptoms individually and collectively in that sense. Now, even if I say about knowledge, when we teach knowledge to researchers, the scholars who are producing publications and literature search, and when they work for new knowledge generation, then that comes to the textbooks that you teach. So, though that's not the responsibility at school level, but in general, even while consuming knowledge, we need to make students be somewhat critical, as I mentioned, in terms of questions, in terms of their lack of understanding, in terms of gaps in understanding, in terms of refining their own knowledge by becoming open to new sources of knowledge, as well as even making their own constructs of knowledge. So, keeping them abreast of other developments in the field, not just from news media. From today, you can have Facebook sharing you all kind of such forums where students can have complementary, additional, ascending, as we call it, forums, science and technology forums, and other forums, societal forums. All kind of forums exist, and who knows, you can even create your own forums where you become repository of such new knowledge, information, and then grow with it. So generally, to see that their understanding in their subject matter improves is not the content or quantity of the coursework that is covered over time is the means or is the end of education. It is the understanding and other issues that I mentioned in terms of attitude that grows with time is the measure of education. Now, if it comes to skills, these are the visible things that top management can see in their students. Can students or do students have initiation and planning? No, this might sound, what is it to do with education? No, whatever they have learned has to go in initiating something, planning something, and then when it goes from initiation to planning, it requires other people also, because an individual alone will not be able to do it. Do they perform some kind of activities? Do they record some data? Do they record some activity if they visit, if they explore, if they do some outreach? Do they record some observations? Do they make some notes? These are some of the observational issues from teachers to students and also from top management to teachers. Do they analyze and interpret and report? So do they write originally anything of their own? That is the symptom as a performance measure for educational institutions. Now for teachers those who are in science can consider, and these issues are very common even to other sciences, can they inspire from nature? Particularly, I would say this is more true for sciences that we impart knowledge with. However, it should be applicable even to others, social sciences as well. When it comes to energy, environment, right? These are the two factors for all education. This education is not just E for education. I would say E for energy and environment, which is common to the whole. So the ultimate environment in which the students work is not employability and entrepreneurship. It is energy and environment. So all sciences together will work in that energy and environment, whether it's individual energy or energy of the products and processes that they work in. And do they utilize the resources which are man-made, whether, for example, electricity, water, air, other pollution issues? Do they respect the natural resources on one hand and also control the use of man-made resources, or they follow abundance or richness of their parents coming as attitude that they will consume as much as they can? So do they have that balance? Are they inspired by the nature, stars, sun, earth, sky? Do they have that infinity from nature as inspiration? These are some of the queries and provocation to the teachers. Though more can be discussed about linkages. Do we create respect for other disciplines within the school and other educational institute where different disciplines are taught together? Are they commons? Do we have any common platforms where different disciplines sit together and consider the linkages? And then who says collaborations? Now, the other major issue that top management particularly can see: are we innovating continuously? Are we different from last year, or are we even not able to repeat the last year? These are two questions that can help, or it's the same question that can help top management see how good we are innovating. So have we tried new ways of doing things, or are we following some traditions? This is one query that again leaders can consider. Are we just following the safe, the conservative, the best known methods, or are we also innovating, taking plunge? So in the environment, if it occurs, the message follows this to the students level. So are we innovating, doing differently, or following the run-of-the-mill approach, the traditional approach? And it is quite likely that could happen in education, that sometimes we don't even dare to innovate because of the phobia we might have. In any case, you all must have innovated towards virtual teaching, whether you liked it or not. However, this was also an innovation which was forced by Corona. So I hope the best of those lessons can be made as a practice, that we would innovate every year. We would do things somewhat differently every year. Now, the institute must build this idea to action, or idea to invention, to innovation, to incubation. The schools and early education all need not have everything. However, they must create the culture of innovation within the campus, within the school campus. That remains the responsibility of the top management, whose job is only to create that ambience. That's all, and let them free. So they create the environment and keep the freedom as a value in the institution. That's it. Rest should follow, and I believe, and I rather advocate that would follow. Now, considering each individual as a doer, this is not to say that we are making the students or even teachers just taskmasters or just pressure creating situations. So from pressure of teaching, of pressure of education and examination and evaluation, we wish to create an institution which is excellent, which is bubbling with excellence, which is more towards freedom of expression, freedom of action. So whatever ideas come to individuals' mind, they have the way of evaluating themselves by performing their actions. and even performing their results. So, on one hand, we are advocating doing. On the other hand, we say we want to create human beings. So how to be a good human being? So the being part is the free part. The doing has been going on. Students have been going extra classes, coaching. They have been doing. Doing has gone already too much. Where is the human being? So instead of pushing the extra doing, we believe in enjoyment in doing and engagement of mind to action. And that is the freedom environment that I am advocating. So from doing to being, creating a balance is one of the messages. And that's not all. So have a balance of doing and being on one hand, but there's more to share with you, which I enjoy sharing. Of course, the first thing remains to be a human being. So the last part of my message is to be. The first thing is to be, to do. Yes, we have been doing. The balance of to be, to do. But that's not all. That won't make the individual active and contributor. To see, as I mentioned, when they record, they observe, they analyze, they report. To see, to tell the society. If education does not generate further dissemination to other members, even to the parents, if a student is sharing something to their parents, that's good enough as dissemination. So they must be able to see and tell as well. So my message at the end is to be, to do, to see, to tell. And if we create such individuals in educational institute, so if I were to summarize, first was to move from to do to be. That is something a pity that we have to create that balance. Long time we have been in education doing, lot of doing. So have more being in the institutions. And not only that, that will be the first betterment. The next betterment is to be observing, to be going out of the environment in which they are studying, to see that their education is applicable and to see where it is applicable. So to see, to go out, to observe, and then to tell whatever they see, they do, they act, or they observe, they share. So to analyze and to tell, to something original that they tell becomes their output. So to be, to do, to see, to tell is the message from me, and it is a message from Indian mythology. The best of what I learned from my education is what I have shared just with you. I hope this goes a long way to all the teachers, to all the management leaders, to the institution builders, and all the people who are listening, that we look forward to creating such institutions which create individuals with all such values. Thank you, and I congratulate you once again for the awards that you have received. Good luck.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time and presence. Yes, whatever you said, each and every word made a mark, made a difference, and helped us to think how we can create a difference in the society. Once again, sir, we wish you all the very best for your future endeavors and hope to see you super soon. Once again, to grace the occasion as the guest of honor, we are really honored and blessed to have with us Padmashree Dr. Vijay Kumar Shah. With a huge round of applause, let's welcome sir and listen to sir's golden words.
नमस्कार, मैं डॉक्टर विजय कुमार शाह, सांगली, पद्मश्री अवार्डी, क्रिस्क्राफ्ट प्रोडक्शन की तरफ से आज के जो समारोह में है जो अवार्ड सेरेमनी है उसने आपका सबका स्वागत है। किटेस्क्राफ्ट प्रोडक्शन संस्था जो है वो राष्ट्रीय अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर बहुत बढ़िया काम कर रही है। उनका कितने तारीख पर वो कम है, उन्होंने समाज विकास के लिए बड़ा योगदान किया है। आज के कार्यक्रम में जो हमारे स्पीकर्स है, प्रमुख अतिथि है, अवार्डी है, उनका मैं